We are in a kind of downturn in terms of consumers buying vehicles. And that's exactly the moment where you need to invest in order to come out of that phase as the strongest. So that's actually one of many reasons why I'm extremely bullish on Tesla here. But
was it surprising for you that the compact car was announced, that it's going to be produced at Giga Berlin?
So actually, I'm not sure if we already assumed that or speculated around this, probably, because I did a couple of times and I would be surprised if you haven't. And I tweeted about it and I talked about it. So it's totally logic. I mean, it would be very strange if Tesla wouldn't produce a 25K model in Europe, simply because of the sheer size of Grünheide, Giga Berlin, the expansion plans and the love of Europeans for small compact cars. I mean, this is definitely not a truck continent by definition, although Cybertruck is going to change this to a certain extent, if you ask me. But compact cars are extremely popular. A lot of people are, in particular about Cybertruck, again, are saying you can't drive this in Europe. Streets are too narrow and you can't find a parking spot, which is actually all true. I mean, I can show you and you can show me places in Europe, and we are not talking about one, many places where you're going to have such challenges, which is definitely the case, simply because, urban areas are here very different in terms of construction and buildings and street sizes. And we have all the bicycle lanes too. And then we have for pedestrians also a lane, which is for a lot of Americans coming to Europe and odd things. They usually walk on the bicycle lane, which creates a lot of anger. But back to the topic, I wasn't surprised. I think it's logic, it makes sense, and it's the right thing to do. We all know that Tesla always said they want to produce the vehicles close by the consumers. And also the supply should come nearby, which is one of many reasons why Giga Berlin was located in Germany. And so therefore, it's totally logic to bring this model to Europe, but we have to be realistic. It will take a long time to get this going. I expect this to be in phase 2, not in phase 1, which means between 500K and 1 million units produced in Giga Berlin. I guess that the 25K model will be included at that point in time. And right now, Giga Berlin is still in the ramping phase. We are around 250K annually right now, and it takes a while to get to 500. I'm still hoping for the Model 3. Just to put this in here, that the Model 3 is going to be produced in Berlin too, because they're all shipped over from Shanghai and it's great quality. People are actually really impressed about the build quality of the vehicle and everything, which is great. But it's the same story. I mean, you should produce where the consumers are. And there are a lot of consumers in Europe who are interested in the Model 3 and even more in the compact car. So we will see.
Yeah, it makes absolutely sense. So to give a little bit context here about the compact car, we had this information or this news that, oh no, they didn't broke ground in Mexico. What's happening there? Oh my God! Did the municipality of the area where the factory should be created, did they cancel the plans or anything? There were rumors left and right, and now it turns out that, of course, Tesla didn't actually send them the plans for the expansion or for the building actually, and how they're going to set up the construction line there. And so that was the delay. The delay was that they didn't send over those documents earlier because the municipality in Mexico there was already ready for building. They already did a lot of stuff there at the factory site as well. But yeah, now it seems like it has a slight delay there. And that's why it makes totally sense that they use because Tesla is very agile, they're going to shift their plans. And now they're starting with the expansion in Berlin at first. And also Amy from Twitter, she also expected that, she said that also Texas, will have a test plant at least, because Elon Musk needs to be near this kind of production ramp also that he can adjust. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think, the original move to do it in Mexico makes a lot of sense from a cost perspective, and just it's a new factory. So you build up a new factory with new tooling and new layout and all new everything. So therefore, if you have a new model, it makes totally sense to implement it there. So I think this has probably been the first thought. And then there are, I wouldn't call it second thoughts, but question marks around economy and demand and interest rates and affordability as such. So, and I think, I'm not sure about the numbers, but I think it's between 7 and 9 billion that Tesla's investing in new capacity and new development. So it's a lot of money going into it. And that's great because we are in a kind of downturn in terms of consumers buying vehicles. And that's exactly the moment where you need to invest in order to come out of that phase as the strongest. So that's actually one of many reasons why I'm extremely bullish on Tesla here. But back to the point. So they decided, as you indicated, bring it back to Texas because it's closer to the, let's say, top engineers at the headquarters. And so now are the thoughts around bringing it also up in Giga Berlin. But again, it will probably take 2 years or so to go into phase 2. The second building in Berlin is going to be double size from that what we've seen here before, and already the building is really big, so it will take time to bring it up. In particular, as far as I know, Tesla is approaching the construction Giga Berlin this time differently. So before, they've been doing preliminary permits, so they more or less started construction regardless, and in parallel there was an application for a permit. So in the worst case scenario, they had to tear everything down again, which never happened. But obviously there's a risk for that. And usually you do the permit first, which takes a long time because of all the red tape in Germany. And then you get the permit and you start construction work. So Tesla, as far as I know, going back to the normal approach, which probably takes longer. And that fits well into the overall sentiment from Elon, who is a little bit, paranoid, nervous about the overall situation, how this develops. And I believe I shouldn't say that because I don't have the details, but I think he's overly pessimistic. That came across in the earnings call really negatively. A lot of people didn't like it at all because he wasn't making big promises and he was very cautious. Funny thing is, if you look back, people have been accusing Elon being too bullish, too optimistic, to be gonna be the biggest in the world. So now he's pedaling back and being, conservative. And he's saying he's conservative because of his experience in the financial crisis in 2009. And now he's accused of being too conservative. So regardless of what he's doing, it's wrong. And, I think we need to learn to read in between the lines if it comes to Elon and not being too bound to his lips and every word he's saying. So that's my take on it. So I think it makes sense. In particular, as for the 25K model, we have a lot of new technology going in there. And if we are honest, the point is we do not know which technology is going in there. We assume it's going to be the unboxed process or, manufacturing methodology, however you want to call it, which is a huge and big change for serial or mass production. If you work in the machinics industry, this is a totally normal thing to produce different parts of the machine in parallel and assemble it at the end of the line altogether. So it's, from that perspective, not that new. What Elon is doing is here a combination of the two, and that's actually, I believe, pretty unique. The other thing is the underbody out of one casting, which in particular for the compact car is more or less a must. So I expect this is what they are trying to accomplish there too. And, and there are other things like the Volt architecture and stuff that's probably going to change too to reduce costs. So with new technology, with new methodologies, with new tooling, which you need to invent too, partly at least, you create a lot of risks. And to mitigate that risk, it makes sense to have this close to the chest, to the top engineers who can solve the issues. So therefore, Austin makes a lot of sense. As a German, I would say Germany makes also a lot of sense, but I totally understand that they want to get started in Austin. But, knowing Tesla and Elon a little bit, we also know that he's changing on the fly. Yeah. So we'll see how this turns out and how this is going to happen. Time will tell.